I get it, you're staring at your workbench, the server humming, and the thought of a sudden power dip makes you wonder whether you should splurge on a UPS or just hope the house wiring holds up. A friend of mine asked me the same thing last week while we were setting up his home office lab, and I could see the hesitation. He didn't want to overpay for something he'd barely use, but he also didn't want his data to go poof the moment the lights flickered. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. The Tripp Lite Smart 3000 Net is one of those tower-style UPS units that sits upright next to a workstation, rather than sliding into a rack. At first glance, the 3000VA 2400W rating sounds like a lot, and it is enough to keep a mid-range server, a couple of monitors, a NAS and a router alive for several minutes when the grid trips. That several minutes is the sweet spot for most home-based pros. It gives you a window to save open files, shut down gracefully, or switch to a backup generator if you have one. What really sets this model apart is the built-in automatic voltage regulation, AVR. In neighborhoods with frequent brownouts, the AVR smooths out those low-voltage dips without having to dip into the battery. I've seen users in older apartment buildings swear by it because the UPS doesn't waste battery cycles on minor fluctuations. Those cycles are saved for a true outage. In practice, that means the battery stays healthier longer, and you get more usable runtime when you actually need it. The unit also packs 8 outlet strips, 4 of which are battery-backed. That layout works well if you need to protect both critical equipment and peripheral devices. For example, you can plug your server, NAS, and router into the battery-backed sockets, while the upsonly outlets power a desk lamp or a phone charger that you don't mind losing power on. The DB9 network management port lets you hook the UPS into your server's monitoring software, so you get alerts when the battery is low or when the input voltage strays outside safe limits. In a small office that runs a few virtual machines, that kind of remote visibility can be a real lifesaver. Now, let's talk about the downsides that don't get shouted about in the glossy marketing copy. The Smart 3000 Net is a hefty piece of metal, roughly 45 pounds, so moving it around isn't a weekend project. If you're planning a portable setup or you need a UPS that can slide under a desk, this tower will feel like a small appliance. The fan that cools the internal battery and electronics does kick on during heavy loads, and while it's not ear-splitting, it adds a low hum that can be noticeable in a quiet home office. Also, the runtime at full 2400W load is only about a minute and a half. You'll need to scale back the load if you expect longer backup periods. Who should consider this UPS? If you run a home server, a small business network, or a creative workstation with multiple monitors and external drives, the capacity and AVR give you both protection and flexibility. It's also a solid choice for photographers or videographers who need a reliable power source for editing rigs that can't afford a sudden shutdown. The network management feature makes it attractive for anyone who already uses monitoring tools like SNMP or wants to integrate power alerts into a broader IT dashboard. Who might skip it? If your only concern is protecting a single desktop PC or a TV from surges, a basic strip with surge protection will cost a fraction of what this UPS asks for. Likewise, data centers or enterprises that need rack-mountable units with hot-swap batteries will find the tower form factor limiting. And if you need extended runtime, say, keeping a server alive for an hour during a prolonged outage, you'll quickly run out of battery life and will be better off looking at a higher capacity or modular UPS solution. One practical scenario that illustrates the value: imagine you're running a Plex media server at home, streaming to multiple devices while a backup script copies new footage to an external drive every night. The UPS can keep the server online during a brief outage, letting the backup finish without interruption, and then gracefully shut down the system when the battery is exhausted. Without it, the backup would stop mid-file, potentially corrupting the archive and forcing you to redo hours of work. That kind of peace of mind is what the Smart 3000 Net delivers in everyday terms, not just on paper. Another case is the remote work setup that many of us adopted during the pandemic. A small officina box with a router, a VoIP phone, a couple of monitors and a laptop can stay functional for the critical few minutes needed to switch to a mobile hotspot or to inform clients that you're temporarily offline. The UPS's 8 outlets give you the flexibility to prioritize which devices stay powered without needing a separate power strip. If you're weighing cost versus benefit, the price point of the Smart 3000 Net lands it in the mid-range of UPS offerings.